Miracle Marketing Podcast, where we bring you interviews from business owners, celebrity guests, and hot topics. I am your host, Brandon Adams, along with my co-host, super producer, Big Perryon. Big Perryon, what's going on in the ATL today, my brother?
Oh, man, it's chilling. It's a pretty beautiful day, man. Sunny, wind is blowing. Better than it's been this summer, man. It's a lot cooler.
Okay, we haven't cooled off yet here in Vegas. It's still September now, and we still over 100, but we're going to heat it up on this show this morning. We got a great guest that I would love to get into. So you guys make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you would like to be a guest on the show, send us an email to amiraclepodcast@gmail.com. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. On today's show, we have a very special guest. Boy, this man, he wears a lot of different hats. I met this brother the other day, and I had to have him on the show. He is a two-time author, a doctor with a doctorate degree. He is a civil rights activist and a sports commentator. So without further ado, we're going to bring on the show Dr. Terry Spain. What's going on, Dr. Terry Spain? How are you this morning?
What's going on, my brother? How's everything going with you gentlemen today, man? It's a great day. I'm back from Vegas, so I'm back here in Florida.
All right. How's everything going on in Florida?
It's not bad. It's hot, but it's a different type of heat. You got the humidity in Florida, and then I go out west to Vegas, and it's the dry heat. So I think I'll take the dry heat any day.
All right. All right. So, man, I was just, looking over your bio. You got your hand in so many different things. And, you've also authored 2 books. So we're going to start with the books. How did that come about?
Well, my first book, which is called Just Lead, is just pretty much a leadership book, just encouraging, people to find different ways to be a leader. Everybody's trying to find their niche and their realm of what they could do and how they could be productive in a society. So I just gave them little tidbits on that. And inside the book, there are questions in there that you can write the answers down to kind of challenge yourself. And then my second book, which is called Hey Young Man, which is, to me, I believe that's probably one of my favorite. You're not really supposed to have favorites, but this book, Hey Young Man, is a book that's dedicated to young men because there's a huge gap. There's a lot of young men that don't have guidance. And I've been fortunate enough to have some great leaders in my life. I've been fortunate enough to have a dad who really, who really did a tremendous job, molding me into the person that I am today. But I decided to write this book because I also go out and I mentor young men and women, but mainly young men from any walks of life. So I do I mentor a lot of professional and collegiate athletes and high school athletes as well. But I saw that there was an underlining theme, and that was they had a lot of they was lacking a lot of mentorship in some aspects. So I decided to write this book, and it's called Hey Young Man. That's to get the attention of these young men. So when we were growing up as OGs, there would be an old guy come to you and say, "Hey man, come here, let me talk to you for a second. Hey young man, let me talk to you." You know how that used to go, and you knew that you're going to get some type of knowledge. And for me, that's why I named the book Hey Young Man, because I wanted to give these young men some knowledge so they can go back and take these tools and utilize them, and they can also contact myself and say, "Hey, what did you mean by this in the book?" Or how can I, better myself as a person? And that's the whole goal of this book. And I've been doing a lot of stuff, partnering with some other brothers who are doing some tremendous work in the community, man. And we just try to partner together and not try to outshine each other, and just go in and make things work for that common goal. And that's helping out these young men.
I'm going to pass it to your Florida brethren, who's from Florida as well. Big Perryon, your turn.
Yes, sir. First, I want to start off with saying Florida has the best beaches in the whole world. For sure. How does from going over your bio, it said that you were in the military, you were in the Navy.
Right.
21 years?
21 years.
That's dope. That's dope. That's dope. My older brother was in the Navy. I think he retired at 22 years. Okay. How does training in the military help with your mentoring the youth now? Do you encourage a lot of youth to go into the military or just find other ways to be disciplined?
Yeah, and that's a great question. For me, like the military creates and it transforms um, leadership, but it also transforms discipline. And so if I see that there's a young man or a woman that can benefit from joining the military, I definitely kind of encourage that because I see a lot of the benefits that you can get even while serving and active duty, and even while if you decide to only do 4 years as a veteran, I see a lot of the benefits that we can get. And so I encourage them to let them know that this is a great avenue to go to, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's been a lot of great people who served in the military, and quite honestly, for me, that's one of the reasons why I joined. My dad did 30 years in the Marine Corps, so I'm originally from South Carolina, but I grew up in Italy, and just because my dad was in the military, so for me, growing up in Italy from 12 years old to like 16, 17 years old, that definitely helped out a lot. So I tell these to these young men and women like, hey, look, I grew up in another country and this is how it changed me. So I encourage them to consider joining the military. And it's not for everyone. So if a person really doesn't want to do that, you don't want to force someone to do something that they don't want to do because they're not going to be the best person that they could possibly be. And for the military, we're definitely looking, and I know they're definitely looking for the best people. So, but it's definitely a great avenue. I was able to get my degrees in the military. I was able to travel to over 45 countries by being in the military, and growing up in the military. So I definitely encourage that because there's a lot of tools and trades. I'm a broadcaster, and one of the reasons why I'm a sports broadcaster to this day is because I was doing that while I was in the Navy as a chief mass communications specialist, and that they gave me the skills to be a broadcaster, a writer, and do everything mass communications wise. So there's a lot of there's a lot of tools that you can use, and I try to encourage them to look at those and transcend to that on the outside as well.
Did traveling around, being introduced to different lifestyles and ways of living and stuff, did that help you with your public speaking?
Oh, most definitely. I'll tell you what, growing up and seeing how other people react in different cultures, you gain that cultural competency. So I had an opportunity to see how other cultures react and how they live. But being in the Navy as a chief mass communication specialist, our biggest job is public speaking. That's one of our biggest jobs is public speaking. So we had to go to school, training, and do all these different things in order to be a public speaker. And I'm also a certified trainer and which I received while being in the military. So those kind of groomed and helped me into being a public speaker. But I would definitely tell you traveling around the world helps because you got something to talk about. You have commonalities with other cultures. When you speak it to a group of a lot of people from Europe, you could talk to them about growing up in Italy or seeing all these different countries. And same as if you were in Asia. I had an opportunity to visit almost every country in Asia. And so when I am speaking in a group of people that are Asians, I have an opportunity to relate to them on a few things.
Yeah, that's beautiful that it's not you. You're able to reach different cultures and mentor um, all around the world. I know a lot of young people that are into broadcasting and being journalists. They desire those type of opportunities. Is there any type of skills or techniques that you use to help you when you stand in front of large crowds that help you get over like being, I know you've been doing it for a long time, but for
Mhm.
somebody just starting out to help them get over being nervous, is there some type of little trick or little routine you go through to
Yeah,
get you started?
and you know what? A lot of people ask me that because they say, "Man, you had an opportunity." I had an opportunity and been fortunate enough to speak in front of thousands of people on countless occasions. But one of the things that I do is I prepare, I even record myself just to see how I would sound. I would use sometimes when my daughter was here, I would have her, you know, talk to her and see what she think about it, or friends or family members, and just ask them about that. But one of the things that one of the guys that who I hold a lot of their a lot of his knowledge to truth is, he told me something that stuck with me for quite some time. He said, don't let the first time you do something be the first time you do something. And what that means to me is, if I know I have to go prepare in front of a crowd of people, I prepare, I train, I keep my mind, active and going, so that when I go out and speak, they won't look at me and say, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, or he's fumbling over his words too much, so he's nervous. So don't let the first time you do something be the first time you do something. That he told me that years ago, and that stuck with me. And that's why I record myself. That's why I prepare myself, because when you prepare yourself, these folks will invite you back. And when they invite you back, that means that you made some type of impact on them.
That's dope. B.
Yeah, my children when they were a lot younger, they had an interest of being sports analysts. Um, they've been blessed to be on First Take with Stephen A. Smith. They've interviewed a lot of people. They've interviewed Chris Broussard. They've interviewed Asia Wilson, Liz Cambage. They've, been all over with the Aces. They've been on Fox News, and they were doing that at 11 and 13. And they're older now. And, when you were talking about just being a dad, that was some stuff that I prepared them for, and mentoring them, and, giving them guidance to be prepared. One thing that really stuck in my head was the interview that they had with Chris Broussard, who took a lot of time out of his day to, speak with them, but he gave them a lot of great advice on, from his time starting out to everybody know who he is because he's on TV regularly. We've even had him on our show and interviewed him, and Chris is a great dude. With being in broadcasting, and we've had a lot of other sports broadcasters, even a female journalist who's here, and she's up and coming. One of the things I wanted to have you on with is, we're going into football season. Football season is starting. What is one of your favorite sports to cover?
Well, one of my favorite sports to cover is definitely football. Just to see the excitement. I cover a lot of football, even from the high school level. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to cover one of the biggest games in Florida, where Cocoa High is getting ready to play the IMG Academy. And for those that don't know about them, they have a really great school. So I like to see and cover these young men as they're in high school. And but football is definitely one of my favorite sports. But I'm a basketball guy by heart. I played basketball all my life, even while I was in the Navy. So I like to cover both sports, but I would say it would be football and basketball.
Okay. I watched one interview you did with Cole Anthony recently. And I guess that was last
That's
year.
my guy.
Yeah.
That's my guy.
That was a great interview. Who are some of the people that you've interviewed that was your favorite to interview?
Oh man. Oh, jeez. I think I interviewed. I think I might have. Terrell Buckley used to be the coach for one of the UFL coaches when they had the UFL league for the Orlando Guardians. But I've interviewed quite. I don't want to, just put out so many names, because I'll probably get a call and say, "Why did you name me?" But I think
Your top three. Your top three.
Cole Anthony is definitely one of them, because I seen this young man. I met him while he was at the Tar Heels. I covered a lot of the University of North Carolina. So Cole Anthony is one of them. I would definitely say I interviewed Mike Norvell, the coach at Florida State University.
Okay.
And then one of the other interviews that I think that I would probably say is man, there's so many. I'm trying to debate.
Don't freeze up. Don't freeze up, Dr. Terry. Come on.
I'm trying to maybe DeAndre Francois. He used to be a quarterback at Florida State. He plays in the UFL as well. just to see this young man and his growth. He's probably one of my other favorites.
Okay, so I got a question coming for you. I I don't know if you interviewed him, but I did see you had a picture with him, Tom Brady.
Yeah, so Tom and I were at the UFL championship in St. Louis this past year,
Okay.
and he and I had an opportunity to talk, and we were in the same booth with two of the other Fox guys that were calling the game. I think it was Buck and forgot the other guy that was there. But yeah, so I had an opportunity to talk to him and just get his insight because that was his initiation to broadcasting. He got a chance to see the ins and outs of what it means to be on TV and as a broadcaster and training himself. The guy's very disciplined and he's going to do one heck of a job as a broadcaster because he takes it as seriously as he took playing professional football.
If you can interview anybody that you would want to interview in sports, who would it be?
I have well, I'll tell you what, the main reason why I'm a Florida State fan is because of Deion Sanders. He and I have met before, but I never interviewed him. We just met because we were at the same place. Ironically, with late great coach Bobby Bowden. I was actually covering that last bowl game that Bobby Bowden did at the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville. But so he and I talked. We spoke briefly. We've seen each other, but I never had an opportunity to actually just sit down and interview him. So I think he would probably be one, and then of course Michael Jordan.
Okay. Perry on?
As far as being an author, I know most writers have many books inside of them. Do you have anything you're working on currently?
Currently, I got some things in the works. I don't know if you saw in my bio. I just recently we went to Africa to do the first Kenyan Young Men Empowerment Summit, where we went. I asked 5 other brothers to come with me, and we went to this place called Eldoret, Kenyan, which is also known as the City of Champions, because they're usually the ones that's winning in the marathons. So, but we went to Eldoret and we went to Nairobi, Kenya. And so I was documenting a lot of my journey. We actually had a documentary that went out that won a couple of film festivals that I was excited about. But I'm actually working on another book, and I haven't put a lot of the finishing touches on it because I'm still, sometimes you get that writer's block and you just want to, make sure that you have a lot of substance to put into your content that you're putting out. But I do have a couple of things in the work, and I'm excited about it.
I wanted to ask you too, as far as being a writer, do you ever focus, since you've traveled around the world, like write for specific groups or for specific areas that you go into? Like if you went to Kenya, and do you have like literature that you have specifically for that area or that country?
You said, well, as I'm writing, or is this as I'm speaking?
What as you're writing, do you ever write for the different places that you travel to around the world, or is it you just do general? Um, the reason why I ask, because a lot of um, teenagers that grow up here don't grow up the same way as maybe a teenager in Kenya. I've been to Nairobi, Kenya, and I've been in the city and I've been in the safari, and a lot of the in the ghetto areas, their lifestyle is totally different
Of
than
course.
a lot of the stuff here. A lot of kids. When I went, it was at the a peak of AIDS over there, so a lot of kids were raising each other because their mother and father were gone. So how do does that impact your writing, or is it just general for all youth or young men, young women, or whoever that you're mentoring? Do you ever say I'm want to target this type of lifestyle, this type of demographic? I guess that's the
Yeah.
right word to use.
Yeah. It like I say, it just depends. I haven't recently, but one of the things that there is a book that I'm considering, which talks about the travel to Africa, so that that people can see the difference in cultures, you know. But there's some of the same things that are plaguing these young men here in the United States are plaguing those same young men and women over in Africa. You know, one of the things that I realized and I did see is that they're a little bit more. I wouldn't say it, they're a little bit hungrier, you know, because they have to be in some aspects. You
Yes.
know, they don't have a lot of the things that the kids here will be that are accustomed to having. They don't have those luxuries oftentimes. But sometimes I do, and I haven't recently, but that's one of the things I am looking at is kind of targeting certain demographics or certain groups of people to talk more about my travels.
That's dope. That's dope. And as far as the military, do you do a lot of things with the military as far as mentoring? I know it's in your bio, but
Yeah.
for our viewers.
Yeah, so I do a lot of one of the things, even though I did 21 years in the Navy, oftentimes you see people that retire or get out of the military and they say, that's it, I'm done. I don't want anything else to do with it. But for me, I couldn't do that. I have a lot of people that I've mentored along the way. Those folks, when I was in, they were their first and second, third year in the military. Now these individuals are 15, 20, 16, 17 years in. And so they still need that mentorship. They need that guidance. So they reach out to me quite often and we have one-on-one discussions. And so I do mentor a lot of young men and women in the military because it's needed. And so I definitely do that. I enjoy it. And I'm also still involved in the military community. I'm actually a part of the Military Affairs Council, and I'm actually the Veterans Chair for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People here in our county. So just because I want to make sure that first the active duty is good to go, but our veterans are good as well. So yeah, I'm still active in our military community.
That's dope. And how does um, mental health, opposed to young men and women in the military, differ from young men and women in regular civilians?
Well, I mean, a lot of it starts from people's socialization. So some people they do see the same traumas or same difficulties that they may have, but in the military, it's not oftentimes, but sometimes depends on the jobs you are. You may see combat. You may see some things that you don't see on a daily basis here in the United States, but you get an opportunity to see those things by traveling the world. So that affects your mental health as well. And I'm also on the board for the Bob Feller Act of Valor Foundation, and that's it's a baseball foundation for the most part. But Bob Feller was one of the only one of the only professional baseball player to be inducted into the Hall of Fame that served in the military. And one of the things that we do with this foundation is we target mental health as well. And so being a part of the Bob Feller Foundation, we help out family members, either active duty or retired or veterans and their families. And so the difference is for a lot of these young men and women who travel abroad, they do see some stuff that you don't see ordinarily in the United States. And so we try to make sure that they're good to go. But this foundation, the Bob Feller Foundation, definitely helps out with that as well.
Yeah, I know. I know military life and civilian life is different, but um, not that I've been to every area, but I know there are some areas where some kids would say, "Hey, growing up in certain parts of New Orleans or
Oh
certain
yeah,
parts of Chicago is like
of
being
course, of course.
in an active war
Yeah.
zone." Um, but I don't really hear anybody ever talk about kids that grow up in areas like that having PTSD or issues. It's not um, spotlighted. Let me say that they probably have those issues or have those um, um, you know night sweats or different things that come with it and stuff, but they probably address it differently
Correct.
because it's not highlighted as much as it might be with somebody who served in the military or even as a police officer.
Right, right.
So I know we just need more people like yourself that's out here encouraging, that's seen half of the stuff that most of these kids have seen, and can relate to them and help them just shine brighter, you know,
Yeah,
and live on purpose and live with purpose. So I
yeah.
think it's very beautiful what you're doing.
Thank you. And when you mentioned that, I wanted to echo something. So they have this organization called the Baltimore Brothers in Baltimore, Maryland. And those brothers that are there are doing exactly what you're talking about. They're taking these young men, some of them are coming from the streets, some of them don't have dads, and they're showing these men that, hey, you can be something other than a gangster. You can be a doctor, a lawyer, professional athlete. You could be all these different things. And so these brothers are providing a lot of tools for these young men, and it's been working tremendously. And I had an opportunity to go and speak to these young men. They have the buy-in of the governor Westmore in Maryland, and they also have the buy-in of the mayor in Maryland, along with some other elected officials, and they're doing a tremendous job getting these young men back and taking back that city. And it's been working beautifully. So the Baltimore brothers are doing exactly what you just mentioned.
That's dope. And do you have a foundation?
No, I do not have a foundation at the moment, but one of the things I love to do is I love to collaborate with other foundations that I know that are doing positive. That's one of the reasons why I collaborate with the Baltimore Brothers and all these different foundations that we're doing. I do that because for me, I think that's better for me. I can be more well-rounded, and I only have to, just concentrate on one particular foundation. I can bounce from foundation to foundation and leave my impact there.
That's dope.
Gentlemen, we're running short of time. So before we get out of here, Dr. Terry Spain, I want to have you plug where people can tune into you during college football and pro football, and then also leave your social medias for everyone to follow you.
Yeah, so I broadcast with Space Coast Daily, so it's spacecoastdaily.com. But I also, you can find me on terryspainconsulting.com, which is my website. And then my IG handle is at Terry Spain 21. And I'm also on Facebook, and I'm on LinkedIn as well as Terry Spain. So you can find me on those different ways. And when you look up in particular with Instagram or what have you, there's a link that you can click on that you can follow some of the things that I broadcast with. So if you follow me, I'll follow you back. And, because we all here to help each other out. So I'm excited about that. But I'm excited about the NFL season. I'm excited about college football and just sports in general.
We got 2 minutes left. Who you got in the Super Bowl this year with football season starting? Who you got?
I got the Chicago Bears and I have Kansas City Chiefs. And the reason why I have the Chicago Bears is because the last time the Chicago Bears won the Super Bowl, it was in New Orleans. And the Super Bowl is in New Orleans this year. So I got the Chicago Bears and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay. Who you got in college football?
Well, I would have said my Florida State Seminoles, but that's 0-2 start is making me a little shaky. But I actually like Georgia. I think they have a well-rounded team, and as much as it hurts me to say that because I'm a Florida State guy, but I do have Georgia.
Okay. NBA season's right around the corner. Who you got on the NBA?
Ooh, that can go anyway. But I think we're gonna have maybe a surprise team this year, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Minnesota finally get over the hump. I know they've been doing a lot of things, but it's either gonna be Minnesota or I actually like what Philadelphia is doing as well.
Okay. I can't leave out my girls. WNBA playoffs is coming up. Who you got in the WNBA?
Oh man, since I just came from Vegas, I'm gonna roll with the Vegas, the Aces.
There you go. My aces. Got my aces
Yeah.
in there. All right. Cool, cool,
Oh
cool.
yeah.
All right, Dr. Terry, thank you for taking the time out of your day to be on the show. We really appreciate it. Perryon, you got anything left?
Man, I just want to say keep doing what you're doing. shining your light and helping all of us be better, talking to us with that OG voice. Hey,
Oh
young
yeah.
man,
Yeah. Hey, young man.
yeah, keep doing what you're doing, brother. It's doing a lot, and it's helping a lot of people. And I pray that even through our podcast, that it reaches more people and then bring them into the same light.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I
All right,
appreciate that.
fellas. Have a great day. Thank you for
All right.
tuning in to the Miracle Marketing Podcast.